So this sculpt wasn't very fun to work with at the end. So in order to take him out, what I've done is it's a two-part mother mold, and just chipping away on the side here. But once I take this mold, yeah, see?
Wow.
Oh, look at him.
Ooh.
Oh, that came out really nice. The crack doesn't matter at this point, but imagine if you didn't have the crack, my head would be in here. I don't look out through the eyes. I'm actually going to have a slot here, which is what the makers on Doctor Who's show actually had. So you saw out through a very small part here. So
this is your sewing section?
Yes, this is my basic sewing section. I've got piles of fabric. This is essentially a big pile of fabric here. I'm currently working on converting a corset pattern to a corset jacket pattern, which is far more difficult than it seems. This is for Queen of Hearts from Once Upon a Time. The one thing I'm glad about is that I know this actually exists and has existed. When you're working with video game mechanics, sometimes you're like, why does this armor move in this way? That's not possible. Paint and primer and epoxy sculpt and glue and fiberglass. Yeah, this is, I should organize it a little bit better eventually, and my bench here is crazy busy. That's actually a gun from my friend Bill Duran over at Punish Props.
Oh yeah.
So he's got some amazing Carnifex casts that he's been selling, and that's one of them. I've got to paint it up. So, but the goblets there are my creation. It's a cold cast from Supernatural. But this session over here, I do most of my painting and my electronics work over here.
Okay.
And as you walk over here, like I do a lot of my drafting and just sitting on the TV and playing with clay right here. And because of that, like that's why I have all my clay sculptures. I've got a couple armatures up on the wall there. That's Rex's foot, believe it or not, because I created Rex's feet out of the same flex foam of his head, so I could actually bend down completely.
Ooh, okay.
And had very nice flexibility.
Right, this is the
this is my airbrush section.
Airbrush section?
Yep. Yeah, and also has a lot of my tools underneath. Belt sander, Dremel, drill. Yeah. It's sort of like a snowball going downhill. Once you start working with something and you get really excited about a project, it tends to snowball. And especially, for example, Rex, when I started him, I thought, oh, well, he can't be more complicated. Well, I knew he was going to be a little bit more complicated than previous things I've done, but I didn't expect him to take the amount of work that he did. In order to create this character, you had to learn how to sculpt, then you had to learn how to cast, then you had to learn how to make armor. So, like, there's a lot of small details in the smallest costume. But I was fresh out of college. I'd been really involved in the theater department while I was in college. Like, I was in the props department, more sourcing than actual making, but I sort of had this bug that wasn't being filled. So I ended up making costumes in my spare time. And when I went to DragonCon for my first time in 2003, that was when it was really cemented, because when you go there and you're like, what am I going to do next year? Like, I have to start making some. To say the first time that I really felt included in costuming as a general rule was the first time I went out with Tolly. And I'm not very proud of that first version of Tolly that I made, and I remade her the following year. But it was the first year where Mark Meir came out and hung with us on the floor, like the voice of Shepard. He hung out with us. I met Harrison Cricks, I met Jane Justice, David Carpenter, my friend Liz. We, all of them were Shepards, and Jack and myself and Tolly, and it was a very exciting experience just to meet other people that were genuinely interested in the projects and in making things, and then to have the Commander Shepard himself come hang out with us. It was 3 hours that were fantastic and really hit me to the bug that the next year I would go out and I would remake the costume and make it even better. We've been working, so
yeah.
Oh, bless!
I know, she's got the start.
Ah,
so now I'm just playing with how to actually get the look, and references are always up on my eye. A lot of good shots of the side.
That's great.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
It's that whole scene of I saw a deer. But yeah, so.
Oh wow. So can you? I don't remember how exactly you were gonna get it. Oh. It's not just eye. Oh, you're doing the full on. All right, you're doing the stilts too, right?
Stilts. She's got this piece of front armor.
Yeah.
And then another piece of armor that kind of curves. That's almost like the front of a skirt.
So you're gonna go like this.
Yeah, pretty much. And if I see, here I've got a dragon arm I made for Flemeth, who's this character from Dragon Age 2. Kind of tough to get on, but yeah, it's a full dragon arm. It's all wiggly and gross. Best costume I've done so far is Morden. So this is my first time sculpting a full head and making a mask. This is the original mask. It's latex, and it was horrible because the latex shrinks, and we didn't know this at the time, so my nose was crushed. The creators and writers of Morden, actually.
That's awesome.
I think that's Peter. Yeah, that's Peter.
Yeah.
And that one, I can't read at all. This is James's 3PO head. James is the third member of our group. He's planning on eventually building a 3PO and an R2 unit, and we had this sort of joke costumes of these sort of like clubbing Star Wars characters. So he let me use this, and I made a sequined gold dress, and we looked very snazzy. One of the things I moved for was I never had closets, and so that this is clothes, and the rest is for costume stuff. So here's an original series Romulan Commander uniform that I made. Here's my Captain Jack Harkness coat.
Nice, nice.
And here are all of the materials.
Oh, I think you should get something more better than this. It's like bending under all this weight.
A little bit. My portal companion cute lunchbox.
That is a lunchbox?
Yeah, it's a lunchbox. It's currently filled with candy.
Oh, because she has a lunchbox.
Why is it filled with candy?
Because it's just too cool for lunch.
She has a lunchbox collection.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow, it's actually...
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you guys have a costuming group?
Yes.
And there's 3 of you guys.
Yeah, our third is currently living in Atlanta, although he works, he flies everywhere, and sometimes, like, he's called me once from, oh man, where was it? Iceland? Belgium? Yeah, and he's like, it's 4 a.m. here, and I'm like, James? So he's our traveling third member, but he's primarily based in Atlanta, yeah.
Okay, and so the name of your group is called?
Propped Up Creations.
Propped Up Creations.
Yeah.
So how did you guys form, or what's the story behind it? Point to her.
Well, I guess that's me.
Yeah,
well, I've known James for a very, very long time. We started costuming together at Dragon Con after we met each other in costume and then became roommates. And for a very long time, the only time I saw him was at a convention. And we would plan throughout the year what we were going to wear, so we'd wear stuff together. We'd had more people in our group, actually, but we were the only 2 that ever got anything done consistently.
And
so when we were trying to find more people to do things with that would always get their shit done, and that's where we found Wraith, because Wraith also it manages to put out an amazing level of costuming, and we met her also in costume, also at Dragon Con, and we started costuming together the next year.
Alyssa only talked to me because she liked what I was wearing.
That is actually so.
What were you wearing?
I was wearing Flemeth from Dragon Age, and she liked the bodice I made with all the
Yes,
studs.
yeah, it was very, very, very intricate, and my first question was, where did you get all those studs? Because I was trying to find like a source, a cheap place to find them, and she's like, well, actually, I have such a great advantage because I live in New York, and I'm like, well, great, so do I. Where exactly? And I'm like, is it the one on 39th and 7th? Or like, so we managed to talk shop in the middle of the floor, which was really great.
That's the thing, you end up meeting a lot of people that you didn't realize you live within 5 miles of.
Yeah.
They make some of your best local friends far away from home. Speaking of cosplay horror stories, I wish James was here because he has his adventures with the TSA.
Oh man, he's had so many things taken from him from the TSA.
They have a tough job, and they are our first line of defense against some pretty scary people, no doubt. But when you've worked so hard on something for so many hours, and suddenly it's just ripped from you,
and taken and never returned. Like his Mantis sniper rifle from it was 3D printed painted, everything, was confiscated by the TSA the week before PAX East last year. So he made a rush one in like, I guess 2 days.
Yeah.
When he finally, so he never got that back.
Dang. So what's a good way to actually transport stuff? Do you guys
mail things?
Mail it ahead of
time?
Or drive.
Mailing, you're always taking a risk because boxes get banged up. So wherever we go, we pack repair kits like crazy. Paints, glues, everything we know, because things go wrong. So that's part of why we've been driving. We've been doing some really bigger costumes. So we have no choice really. If we wanted to come with us, we got to bring it ourselves. So
absolutely, exactly.
Okay.
Once you meet this community and meet the people in it, everybody seems to know what's going on. So, and living in a city this big but this little at the same time,
it's very tiny.
Yeah, it's pretty great though because you have all the opportunities to go and see all these things.